Goes in there, doesn't know what she's looking for. She finds a human head in her son's closet. It's Thursday Scaries. It's October, so every video is going to give us the scaries. We're going to try and do Monday scaries, Tuesday scaries, all the scaries that we can to give you as much content in October, but all the October videos are going to be scaries. So welcome to Thursday Scaries. 19-year-old Brian Kohi lived at home in Colorado with his brother, his father, Brian, and his mother, Terry. As a young kid, he was diagnosed with autism and ADHD. He was also known to be antisocial, and although he was antisocial, he was also a bully. He was disruptive in class, he would mess with other people, and it sounded like it really bothered the other students. Some students at his high school even reported to the teachers that they didn't feel safe around Brian because his behavior was just so odd. In 2019, he was suspended from school twice. First time was after he picked on another student with PTSD so much that it caused that student to have a panic attack. The second time was for making very disturbing, inappropriate comments to another student. A different time during school, one of his teachers was very alarmed when she found his journal. He would draw and write about some of the obsessions that he had. One of Brian's biggest obsessions was none other than Jeffrey Dahmer. Dahmer was like his role model, you would think, by the way that he wrote about him, which makes me sick to my stomach. But Brian would talk about Dahmer all the time to other students. He would write about his crimes and about his murders, not only about Dahmer, but also statistics about other criminals and other serial killers. He was obsessed with crime, but for all the wrong reasons. After graduating high school, Brian's parents went through a divorce. Brian would split his time staying at his mom's house, mostly, but he would frequently stay with his dad. By February, did I say it right? By the second month of the year of 2021, Brian Kohi was 19 years old. He had a job working at a grocery store. He seemed to be doing fine from an outside perspective. On the night of the 28th, police received a strange call from someone from the boat ramp. They were reporting that Brian Kohi had accidentally driven his car into the Colorado River. By the time authorities got there, Brian was there, his parents were there as well, and the vehicle was very clearly in the river. Brian tells authorities that he was parked on the boat ramp because he needed a place to sit and think. He was parked with the back of his car facing the water, and when he went to go drive away, the car just started rolling back and it fell into the water. He claims that he was in the vehicle when it went into the water, but he was able to get out and swim back up the boat ramp and out of the water. That was Brian's stories, and officers thought that it was weird, but at the same time, they see teenagers doing dumb things all the time. So they just kind of thought that it was another silly, dumb mistake. Brian and his parents are both really embarrassed. They all laugh it off. The officers are able to get a hold of a tow truck company to come get the car. They tell the family that they can go back home if they need to. Brian was still in wet clothes from being in the water, so the Kohi family leaves. They go drop Brian off at home, and the two parents are going to make their way back to the boat ramp to make sure that everything was sorted with the car. As the tow company is pulling the car out of the water, some of the water dripping off of it is red. It looked like blood, and the officers thought, oh, Brian was probably hurt. He probably didn't notice. Tells the parents, you guys should probably make sure that he's okay. The parents call Brian at home. They ask him if he's hurt because it looks like there's blood coming out of the car. And Brian says, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm totally fine. And that's that. They don't really look more into that at all. They tow the car, and the family takes it back to their house. The following day, police receive another call from a woman in the same area. Near the boat ramp, she's calling to report a 69-year-old Warren Barnes missing. Warren Barnes was a man in the area who was unhoused at the time. He was well known because he was always in the same area. He was always extremely friendly, very outgoing. People got to know him as the reading man because he was always reading a new book. A lot of people in town, including the woman that called, would see Warren and they would give him money for water or food. Businesses in the area would give him coffee in the mornings. They would put out a chair for him to sit in so he could sit outside and read. He was known to be a very polite man. The woman that called to report him missing says that the last time that she saw him was the 27th. She saw Warren. She told him that she would see him tomorrow. He said okay. They said goodbye the next day. On the 28th, Warren's wallet is found near the boat ramp, but Warren himself is nowhere to be found, which set off alarm bells for a lot of people because for almost 4 years, at least one person had seen Warren walking around the area almost every day. We know now that the person who found Warren's wallet was Brian Kohi's father, Brian Sr. He found it inside of Brian's car when he was cleaning it out, which was odd, of course, and his parents were curious as to why their son would have a random man's wallet in his car. They asked him about it the morning after their little accident, and Brian claimed that he found it near the boat ramp and he was going to return it, but he forgot. Then Brian leaves to go to a friend's house or something, but Brian's mom is concerned. She has a weird feeling about this wallet, so when Brian leaves, she decides that she's going to go into his room and look around. And what she finds is sickening. She's in the room looking around. She makes her way to Brian's closet and she finds 2 plastic bags. Weird. She opens the first bag, human hands. She opens the second bag, human head. A human head in her son's closet. I just got goosebumps. The mom, Terry, is shaking. She's terrified, confused, disgusted, mortified, all of the above. She immediately calls her ex-husband, Brian Sr., and he gets over to the house as fast as he can. They take the bags, they put them in the kitchen sink, they cover them with a towel, and they try to hold it together long enough to call Brian to pretend to sound normal and ask him to come home because they needed to use the car. They wanted to wait to call the police. They wanted to wait to make sure that Brian came home, to make sure that he didn't suspect anything so that he wouldn't drive away if he saw the police cars at his house before he got there. But as soon as they saw him pulling into the driveway, they call the police, and the police get there quick. They pull up when Brian is still outside. They walk up to him casually. They say, "Hey, what's going on, man? Your parents seem to have concerns about something they found in your room." Brian says, "Yeah, probably." The cops are like, "Well, what would that be?" And Brian goes, "It's a human head, human hands, because I killed a man. I killed a local man that has been missing." Sorry? Flat out, doesn't hesitate, doesn't try and hide anything, doesn't deny it. He's very calm, as if he was talking about the weather. He's like, "Yeah, it's a human head. I did that." Authorities take Brian down to the station for questioning immediately. Meanwhile, his parents are still inside the house freaking out. I mean, not only did they just find out that their son is a murderer, they found out in the worst way possible. The parents are eventually taken down to the station to be interviewed as well. And they are devastated. I mean, I can imagine it's probably the hardest pill to swallow. Know that the son that you raised, that you love and you adore, is responsible for taking the life of an innocent man. It's heartbreaking, really. And Brian Koch's interview is wicked. You need to look it up. It is so strange. Some have said that his demeanor when he's talking about the situation seems like he has been excited to confess. He's sitting there super relaxed, laughing, smiling, explaining in detail his murder. He tells investigators that the night of the murder, he was driving around in a bad state of mind and he saw a man lying sleeping underneath a bridge. Brian said he pulled up under the bridge, he put on 3 pairs of gloves, grabbed a knife, put on a Michael Myers mask, and walked over to the man and attacked him with his weapon. As he's explaining this to police, he says, "Is it okay if I do a demonstration?" And he gets down on the ground and reenacts the murder. He's doing a play-by-play of what took place that night in the most casual way possible. It is mortifying. He smiles and he says, "It was surprisingly easy. I barely broke a sweat." He follows that by saying, quote, "I was growling. I was making animalistic noises." And then he starts growling in the interview room. He tells officers, quote, "After I killed him, I just couldn't stop saying, 'Dirty, dirty, stinky, stinky.'" He says that after Warren was no longer alive, he cut open his stomach to see what was inside. He carved a Joker-like smile on his face, cut the head off, cut the hands off. He tells officers, quote, "I was so excited. I was so rushed up on adrenaline. Shocking. Zero remorse. It 100% looks like he is excited." He explains that he was planning to get rid of the head and the hands, but obviously he didn't have time. He tells them he cleaned off his clothes, he cleaned off the knife. He went back home. He tried to fall asleep, but he couldn't, so he went back to the scene of the crime. He took Warren's body, he dumped it in the river, and he tried to drive away, but then his car did roll off the ramp and into that water. That was an accident. That was not planned. I forgot to say, when he was asked why he did all of this, Brian said that he had always wanted to kill someone and that he decided to kill Warren because he was unhoused and he thought that nobody would miss him. His trial began January 17th, 2023, and Brian pled not guilty by reason of insanity. However, in Colorado, in order to be found not legally sane at the time of a crime, a person must be found incapable of knowing right from wrong at the time that the crime was committed because of their mental state. But it was clear that Brian knew right from wrong. It was also clear that he was proud of what he had done. Brian Koch was found guilty of first-degree murder and he was sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. Additionally, he also received 2 counts of tampering with evidence and tampering with a dead body. The judge, who was the judge on the case, described it as one of the most horrific cases he had encountered his 37 years of being in the criminal justice system. Yeah, it is bizarre. I knew about this case, but I think that someone tagged me in a video of his interview and I remembered it all again. I had to make a video on it. It just drives me crazy when someone does something for absolutely no reason. That's all I have on Brian Koch. Let me know what you guys want to see for Monday scaries, Tuesday scaries, all the scaries that we're gonna have this month. Thank you guys for spending time with me today. I hope you're having the best day. If not, go do something to make it the best day. Make somebody happy, and I will see you in my next video. Massive kiss on the forehead to every single one of you.